Welcome to Goal Journal's Indian Premier League cricket match review.
Glad to be here for this one. It's definitely a match we need to talk about.
Yeah, I'm your host, and today we are doing a deep dive into that crucial 2026 clash where Sunrisers Hyderabad essentially dismantled Chennai Super Kings.
Right, and it wasn't just a regular loss. I mean, it was structural.
Exactly. Our mission today for you, the listener, is to figure out why. Because if you look at the scorecard, the answers aren't in terrifying, 150-kilometer-per-hour bouncers or monstrous sixes.
Not at all.
The answers are all about pace, the absolute mastery of it, and, well, the total mismanagement of it.
Yeah, and to really get why this matters, you have to look at the broader tournament context going into this game.
The stakes were massive, right?
Huge. The playoff landscape was already solidifying. You had Gujarat Titans, Royal Challengers Bangalore, and SRH all with locked-in playoff spots.
So CSK was really feeling the heat.
Oh, absolutely. The math for that fourth spot was already incredibly complicated for them. This wasn't just a mid-season slump.
Right.
This devastating loss technically pushes them to the absolute brink of elimination. Every single run, and more importantly, the speed at which they scored those runs, carried the weight of their entire season.
Which brings us to the first massive fracture in CSK's game plan, and it started long before the bowlers even took the field.
The top order.
Yes. The concept of pace dominating this match first manifested in this batting collapse, driven by an almost unbelievable disconnect between their openers.
It was like watching two different matches at the same time.
Literally. If you're watching Sanju Samson and Captain Ruturaj Gaikwad bat side by side, you're effectively watching two entirely different eras of cricket.
Totally. Because Samson came out playing a brand of T20 designed for 2026. He was hyper-aggressive, but technically flawless right out of the gate.
Yeah, he blasted 27 runs off just 13 deliveries.
Right, we're talking 5 fours and a 6. He was actively dictating the terms to the SRH bowlers, manipulating the field, forcing them to alter their lines.
But then you pan the broadcast camera over to Ruturaj Gaikwad at the non-striker's end, and it is a completely different reality.
It was agonizing to watch.
Okay, let's unpack this. He plays this incredibly slow innings of 15 runs off 21 balls, finally getting dismissed in the 11th over.
Which is just, in modern T20, that's a white flag.
Exactly. To understand the gravity of how slow that is, look at the season-long data. Ruturaj has been carrying a strike rate of roughly 104.
Right.
And for anyone doing the math, a strike rate of 104 means you are scoring just over a run a ball. If your entire team bats at that pace for 20 overs, you score 120 runs.
And in a modern IPL match, 120 runs guarantees a loss, like 9 times out of 10.
Easily.
And the micro-level statistics of this specific match really highlight the structural damage of that strike rate.
Oh, the partnership stat.
Yeah, there was this stretch where Samson and Ruturaj built a 31-run partnership off 16 balls.
Which on paper, 31 off 16 looks like a healthy phase of play.
It does, right. But when you dissect it, Ruturaj contributed exactly 3 runs to that partnership.
3 runs? Wait, really?
Just 3.
It's like being in a submarine with a limited oxygen supply and one person is taking massive deep breaths while the other is just suffocating.
That's a great way to put it.
And to put a 15-run knock by the 11th over into the broader context, think back to a previous match where KKR's Phil Allen smashed 95 runs by the 12th over.
Yeah, 2 entirely different stratospheres of intent.
It makes you wonder about the psychology behind it, Is it possible Ruturaj was playing a phantom rescue mission?
What do you mean?
Like anticipating a top-order collapse that hadn't even happened yet? Was he so terrified of a disaster that he completely shut down his own scoring to artificially protect his wicket?
I think you're spot on. He was batting for a crisis that didn't exist yet. And by doing so, he basically engineered the crisis himself.
Because T20 partnerships are a single organism.
Exactly. When the batter at one end refuses to rotate the strike or find the boundary, the required run rate begins to climb exponentially.
The burden just shifts.
Right. The physical burden, and more importantly, the psychological burden, shifts entirely onto the aggressor. Samson was suddenly batting for 2 people.
He was forced into a corner. He had to manufacture a high-risk boundary out of a delivery that just didn't deserve it.
Which directly leads to him flashing at a ball, taking the edge, and getting caught out.
The oxygen runs out, Samson tries to break a window to breathe, and the whole operation just floods.
And the pressure doesn't evaporate when the wicket falls either. It gets inherited by the next batter walking down the steps.
Yeah, players like Urwal Patel, Kartik Sharma, and Dewald Brevis were basically walking into a graveyard of momentum.
The run rate was completely suffocated at that point. Brevis and Sharma couldn't play their natural, expansive game.
They had to mount a genuine high-stress rescue operation from ball one just to drag CSK to a total that wouldn't be completely embarrassing.
The entire middle order was placed under immense duress because the pace was never set at the top.
And that suffocation with the bat really laid a clear blueprint for the rest of the match. SRH looked at CSK's inability to dictate pace, and when they bowled, they put on an absolute masterclass in taking pace off the ball.
They completely weaponized slowness.
Right. SRH's analysts and bowling group identified early on that the pitch dynamics and the specific weaknesses of the CSK batters made them incredibly vulnerable to pace variations.
You have Pat Cummins, undeniably one of the premier express fast bowlers in world cricket, partnering with Shakib and Praful.
And together, they executed this ruthless, coordinated game plan of bowling 3 to 4 slow balls every single over.
Which is wild.
Yeah. If you haven't faced a professional fast bowler, it is hard to conceptualize how disruptive 3 or 4 slow balls an over truly is.
You spend your entire life training your fast-twitch muscle fibers to react to a 140-kilometer-per-hour delivery.
Your brain calculates the trajectory, your hands move instinctively, then a bowler like Cummins suddenly rolls his fingers down the seam for a cutter.
And the ball grips the pitch and arrives a fraction of a second later than your brain expects.
You end up completing your swing before the ball even reaches your bat?
And the targeted application of that deception was brilliant, particularly against Dewald Patel.
Oh, definitely. Earlier in the season, Patel had that one massive, explosive innings.
Yeah, but he is rapidly earning the unfortunate tag of a one-match wonder. SRH identified a glaring biomechanical limitation in his technique.
That he's almost exclusively a leg side slogger, right?
Precisely. To hit effectively to the leg side, a batter relies on the sheer pace of the ball coming onto the bat, using the bowler's momentum to redirect it over mid-wicket.
But SRH starved him of the physics he needed to survive. They fed him a strict, unrelenting diet of slow, wide deliveries outside the off stump.
Because the ball lacked pace, Patel had to generate 100% of the power himself.
And because it was wide, he had to reach away from his center of mass. It entirely neutralized his ability to drag the ball forcefully to his preferred leg side.
He was left off balance, swiping at thin air, just completely unable to judge the flight path.
And the exact same strategy dismantles Shivam Dube, who finished with an incredibly labored 20 runs off 20 balls.
Which highlights a fascinating regression in his overall game, I think.
Sure.
Dube is getting heavily pigeonholed as a spin basher.
Yeah, when a spinner tosses the ball up, Dube's long levers and ability to hit through the line make him lethal. He can clear the ropes with ease.
But introduce the aerodynamics of pace variations, like knuckleballs that float without spinning, or back-of-the-hand slow balls that drop suddenly.
He essentially freezes.
It is deeply ironic.
It really is. Your designated finisher, the guy you pay to walk to the crease in the death overs and create chaos, looks utterly paralyzed.
He couldn't read the release out of the bowler's hand, and just like Patel, he couldn't manufacture his own power when the pace was surgically removed.
So if you are a batter trapped in this slow ball nightmare and sheer physical force is failing you, the battle shifts from physical execution to mental decoding. And what's crazy is the historical blueprint for decoding this exact problem actually comes from a quarter century ago.
Yes. What's fascinating here is the historical parallel. You have to look back to India's 1999-2000 tour of New Zealand.
Ah, Chris Cairns.
Exactly. The New Zealand fast bowler Chris Cairns was operating at the absolute peak of his powers. He had developed these lethal in-swingers and out-swingers that were virtually indistinguishable out of the hand.
Right, the release point, the arm speed, the run, everything looked identical.
And the Indian top order was getting carved up because they couldn't read the aerodynamic intent of the ball until it was already past their outside edge.
They were just guessing. And at the international level, guessing gets you dismissed.
But the solution didn't come from tweaking a batting stance. It came from the non-striker's end.
Right.
Sachin Tendulkar, while standing at the non-striker's end watching Rahul drive at bat, realized he had a clear, uninterrupted view of Cairns' grip as he ran into the crease.
Wow. So Sachin started heavily scrutinizing which side of the cricket ball was shiny in Cairns' hand.
Because the ball swings in the direction of the rough side. Knowing where the shiny side is positioned before release is like having the opposing team's playbook.
And Sachin developed a subtle system for this, didn't he?
He did. If he saw the grip for an in-swinger, he would casually hold his bat in his right hand. If he spotted the grip for an outswinger, he switched his bat to his left hand.
That is literal cricketing espionage. He was intercepting the bowler's intent and broadcasting it to Dravid in real time before the ball was even bowled.
The modern application for a team facing SRH's slow ball barrage is obvious. The non-striker has to become the spotter.
Right, watching the bowlers grip like a hawk and using a subtle signal, a glove adjustment, a helmet tap to tell the striker, cutter coming or pace off.
Exactly.
But let me push back on how realistic this is today.
Okay, go ahead.
In a 1999 test match, the field is spread, there's no countdown clock, the required run rate isn't breathing down your neck, and you can afford to block 5 balls and over.
Fair points.
In hyper-aggressive modern T20 cricket, you have a bowler running at you at 140 kilometers an hour, field restrictions constantly changing, and a scoreboard dictating that you must hit a boundary.
Right.
Do modern batters actually have the cognitive bandwidth to decode a hand grip, process a secret signal from their partner, and execute a high-risk shot in a fraction of a second?
The cognitive load you are describing is staggering, I'll admit that. And you are absolutely right that T20 accelerates the mental processing required.
Yeah.
But at the elite tier of franchise cricket, the margins between victory and defeat are entirely microscopic. If a batter like Dubé cannot natively read the ball out of the hand, he must outsource that visual processing to his partner.
It demands immense discipline, though, and flawless unspoken communication.
It does. But if a bowling attack's entire strategy revolves around deception, your counter strategy cannot rely on blind aggression. It must rely on information gathering.
Even under stadium lights with 50,000 screaming fans.
Especially then. It might be the only viable way to break a tactical chokehold.
But, information gathering only works if you actually apply it when the roles reverse.
Oh, man. Yeah.
When CSK finally took the field to defend their total, they completely failed to execute the very pace variations that SRH had just used to clinically dismantle them.
It was as if they hadn't absorbed a single data point from the first 20 overs.
The lack of adaptability was startling. And the most exposed player in this tactical failure was Anshul Kamboj.
Poor guy. Earlier this season, his natural length and pace had him in genuine conversations as a purple cap contender for the tournament's leading wicket taker.
But in this match, he was taken apart, leaking 46 runs in his 4 overs.
And the issue wasn't that he bowled necessarily bad deliveries. It was the absolute predictability of his execution against a set batter like Ishan Kishan.
Kamboj was hitting the exact same length on the pitch, at the exact same pace, delivery after delivery.
And in T20 cricket, batters premeditate.
Right. If you consistently hit a batter's preferred slot without varying the speed or the trajectory, a player of Kishan's caliber doesn't even need to look at the ball to hit it out of the park.
You're essentially providing him with high-stakes batting practice.
Now, to be fair to CSK, Kamboj was operating under immense pressure because of a massive structural void in the team.
The injury.
Yeah, they were missing Jamie Overton, their star all-rounder who had to return home.
And Overton's absence fractured their entire bowling ecosystem. He usually provides vital control in the middle overs.
So without him, Spencer Johnson was forced to fill a role that required more nuance and variation than he currently possesses at this stage of his career.
However, missing a key player does not excuse rigid, uninspired leadership on the field.
You're talking about Ruturaj Gaikwad's captaincy.
Yes. During the bowling innings, it felt driven by a pre-planned spreadsheet rather than the reality unfolding on the pitch.
He kept tossing the ball back to Kamboj, who was visibly struggling and getting carted into the stands.
All while completely ignoring Akil Hossain.
Who was actually bowling quite well, changing his pace, varying his angles, keeping the SRH batters guessing.
Yet, Hossain was left with unused overs in the bank, while the game just slipped away.
It is a classic trap of overplanning, deciding on Tuesday that a specific fast bowler will bowl the 16th and 18th overs on Friday and refusing to pivot when the Friday reality demands a spin bowler instead.
And that rigid mindset permeated the entire fielding effort, really, culminating in Spencer Johnson dropping a crucial catch off Heinrich Klaasen.
Ouch. In any format, dropping a catch is detrimental. But in T20 cricket, giving an extra life to a generational ball striker like Klaasen is catastrophic.
The math of a dropped catch isn't just about the runs the batter scores afterward. It is about the immediate, violent shift in momentum.
It erased any lingering, desperate hope CSK had of clawing back into the contest.
It allowed SRH to approach the remainder of the chase completely free of scoreboard pressure.
That dropped catch effectively rolled out the red carpet for SRH to show CSK what a mathematically perfect T20 chase looks like.
It was a stark contrast to CSK's disjointed, panicky first innings.
This wasn't just a victory, it was clinical, role-defined execution.
Let's talk about Ishan Kishan, because he played what we can define as the modern ideal of an anchor innings.
He started relatively slowly, assessing the bounce, understanding the pace of the pitch.
Ensuring SRH didn't lose early wickets. But the critical difference between Kishan's anchor role and Ruturaj's earlier struggles was Kishan's acute awareness of when to shift gears.
Right, he didn't just build a foundation and sit on it. He built the foundation and then started launching fireworks from the roof.
Once he was set, he exploded, transitioning seamlessly into an aggressor, finishing his innings with 3 sixes and 7 fours.
That composed start, followed by brutal acceleration, is the exact architectural blueprint of what Sanju Samson was supposed to execute for CSK.
Had he not been suffocated by the lack of strike rotation at the other end.
Exactly. And Kishan had the luxury of that time because of the player at the other end.
Abhishek Sharma.
Yeah. While Kishan was assessing the pitch, Sharma was operating as a pure, unadulterated aggressor.
Sharma maintained a strike rate hovering near 200 for the duration of his time at the crease.
By constantly finding the boundary, he ensured the required run rate never climbed to unmanageable levels.
They operated in perfect tandem, one player absorbing the initial risk, the other neutralizing the run rate pressure.
It's like a perfectly executed relay race. The baton pass is entirely seamless.
And once the heavy lifting is done, Heinrich Klaasen walks to the crease to play the closer.
Feasting on the predictable one-dimensional bowling we discussed earlier from Kembo.
Klaasen executed a brutal, highly efficient finishing knock. Anchor, aggressor, closer.
3 distinct roles, executed without overlapping or stepping on each other's toes, highlighting every single tactical element CSK lacked on the day.
It's true. Now, the tactical analysis is cold and heavily rooted in statistics, but we really cannot ignore the immense emotional reality hanging over this specific fixture.
The elephant in the room. The atmosphere at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium, Chepauk.
It was heavy. As the tactical errors compounded, the slow batting, the predictable bowling, the dropped catches, the realization began to wash over the 50,000 fans in the stands.
You could practically hear the silence underneath the crowd noise.
Because this tactical disaster essentially pushed CSK out of playoff contention.
The fans were hit with the devastating possibility that this might have been MS Dhoni's final match on his beloved home turf.
It is the most poignant, sometimes cruel reality of professional sports. A team's structural failures on a Tuesday afternoon don't just cost them points on a leaderboard.
In this instance, those failures threaten to completely overshadow a deeply historic emotional milestone.
MS Dhoni has been the architect of some of the most brilliant, mind-bending tactical victories ever witnessed on that exact ground.
So for his potential final appearance at Chepauk, to end with his team being systematically outthought, outpaced, and outplayed, it adds a profoundly somber layer to our analysis.
The clinical noise of the defeat tragically drowned out the celebration of a generational legend.
It is a bitter reality for the fans, but it perfectly encapsulates the merciless nature of this format.
T20 cricket does not care about your legacy.
No, it doesn't care about your home ground or your reputation. If you fail to dynamically adapt your pace with the bat understanding when to accelerate and when to aggressively rotate the strike.
And if you fail to introduce deceptive variations with the ball,
you will be ruthlessly dismantled by teams who have mastered the dark art of speed manipulation.
Contrasting the profound struggles of Ruturaj with the calculated success of Ishan Kishan leaves us with a fascinating, slightly dangerous question for you to ponder.
What's that?
As T20 cricket becomes increasingly hyper-aggressive, with par scores skyrocketing every season, has the traditional anchor role officially become a liability rather than a safety net?
That's a great point. If a batter is not actively accelerating the run rate, are they simply taking up valuable oxygen in the middle? Something to think about.
Definitely.
Thank you. See you soon with upcoming matches.